In the early morning hours of May 27, 1991, you were a City of Milwaukee police officer, is that correct?
That's correct.
You pulled into that alley with your squad lights on?
The headlights of the squad car were on, yes.
And you got out of the car?
That's correct.
What did you do after you got out of the car? What did you see and what did you do?
I exited the car. I was the passenger of the car. There was a group of people in the alley, and they were all pointing to a white male and a second Asian male who was naked just east of our location in the alley. My partner came up to me and told me that he had obtained information from the white male to whom he was talking to, and basically that the Asian male's name was John Hamong and that he was 20 years old and that he had been staying with him for the last, I believe he said, 2 to 3 weeks.
Had been staying with whom?
With Mr. Dahmer. He also had obtained Dahmer's name at that point. Officer Perupkin and myself and the Asian male and Jeffrey Dahmer began walking toward the rear of the apartment. While we walked back to the apartment, Mr. Dahmer spoke of the crime in the neighborhood and how bad he thought it was. He said he was glad that the police were in the neighborhood and that there was a need for the police. I believe he may have been smoking a cigarette during that time. As we got near to the apartment building, it was the rear of the apartment building, obviously, he spoke of the need for extra locks on his apartment and that he had a security system because of the crime and the nature of the neighborhood.
He showed you up to his apartment.
Correct.
And he convinced you that you could go about your business, that he had everything under control.
We were convinced that all was well.
And there wasn't anything that you saw that could for one moment have caused you to believe that there was any problem at all, correct?
There was nothing.
Mr. Dahmer told me that after the police left, he gave a second injection of muriatic acid and that proved fatal. But even then, he was attempting to carry out the plan to create a zombie. His words were, "Then I gave him the second injection of muriatic acid, and that was fatal. I didn't intend it to be, but it was."
Don't forget Matt Turner, extinguished by the defendant.
Jeffrey had attended the Chicago Gay Pride Parade and met this victim at a bus station. He offered him money, took him home to watch Exorcist 3, had light sex, drugged him, and strangled him. He defleshed and acidified the body, saved the skeleton in the freezer, and put the head in the freezer. He threw the other body parts into the trash. Jeffrey noted that around this time, the body meat in his freezer was getting old, and he disposed of it.
Don't forget Jeremiah Weinberger, drilled, who made it alive, struggled for life for a day and a half before he died at the hands of the defendant.
1 or 2 weeks later, he met his 15th victim, Jeremiah Weinberger, age 25, who was of Jewish Puerto Rican descent. He met him at a bar in Chicago. He approached his victim, offered him money. The victim performed oral sex on Jeffrey. They took the bus back to his home. They kissed, engaged in masturbation, watched a video, and Jeffrey then gave him a drink. Once he was unconscious, he drilled a hole in his head and used boiling water. He reported that this victim woke up and was functioning but was groggy. Jeffrey then gave him more pills and another injection. He reported that the victim went into a coma, and the next morning he was still in a coma, and Jeffrey tried to wake him up. Jeffrey went to work, and when he returned home, he found that the victim was dead. He stated that he felt bad because he wanted the victim to be coherent and to carry on a conversation with him. Jeffrey stated that he engaged in the drilling technique to avoid having to strangle and kill his victims. I asked Jeffrey how things were going at work at this period of time, and he told me that he had been missing days at work because of his victims. He said he was at a point where he could have been fired.
Well, he kept promising to get rid of the smell, but I told him that that was the last time I can tolerate it.
Okay.
And so I had to contact my office to put that in writing to him.
So, in any event, at that point in time, did you have a mindset that he was going to be evicted no matter what because of the odor?
That's what I had in mind.
Don't forget Oliver Lacey, dying at the hands of the defendant.
He reported that Oliver was black and was a bodybuilder. He offered him money, they had light sex, they watched a video, and Jeffrey drugged him. He reported that he then called into work sick and he was then fired. He had kept the headless body of his 15th victim in his bathtub. According to Jeffrey, Oliver never saw that body. Jeffrey reported that he did not use drilling on this victim. He drugged him, strangled him, performed anal sex before and after death, posed him, and took pictures. He also defleshed his 15th victim at this time and saved the head. He was going to use Oliver Lacey in his temple area. At this point, he had lost his job, was drinking heavily, and running out of money.
Don't forget Joseph Bredehoft, dying at the hands of the defendant.
Mr. Dahmer stated he met him on Wisconsin Avenue near Marquette University, and this individual was waiting for a bus, and he had a six-pack in his arms. He stated he got off the bus, approached him with the same offer as he did with the others, and he agreed to go with him to his apartment. They went to his residence, where he had oral sex on this individual before killing him. States he gave him the potion, and when the individual went to sleep, he strangled him with the strap. He subsequently put his head in the freezer and his body in the 57-gallon barrel in his residence.
Joe Bredehoft was the last person Jeffrey Dahmer was to kill. The man he had picked for his 18th victim was in court to tell how he escaped.
You solemnly swear all testimony you're about to give this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please be seated. Then, sir, would you tell us your name and spell your last name for us?
Tracy Edwards, Edwards.
Mr. Edwards, you're going to ask you to speak up very loudly into the microphone. I would like to know in what state do you reside at the present time?
Louisiana.
And how old are you, sir?
32.
32? And you are single?
Yes.
You were in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on July the 22nd, 1991?
Yes.
And at or about that time, on that late afternoon, did you have occasion to see a person that you knew at that time or subsequently learned was a fellow by the name of Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yes.
So you were with a couple of your buddies, were you?
That's correct.
And what were you doing?
We was drinking beer, just talking, hanging out, you know.
About 6 o'clock at night, was this?
Yeah, about 6:15, whatever.
Did you have occasion then to see Mr. Dahmer?
Yeah, he approached us eventually and started talking to us. Yeah,
Were you three black males?
yeah, one white, two black male.
So you're friends.
Yeah, my best friend was white. Yeah.
When he came up and started talking to you, what is it that Mr. Dahmer said to you?
He said he was just in the city from Chicago. He was taking care of her sick grandmother, I believe, in West Allis.
Did he have any further conversation with you and your friends?
Yeah, he was just talking. He said he was a professional photographer. He usually pays people for pictures and stuff like that if anybody was interested in making money at that time.
To have to pose for pictures?
Yeah.
Did he describe the kind of pictures that you were going to be posing for if you chose to take him up on the offer?
He said nude.
Nude.
Right.
You went up to the apartment. Tell us what happens when you get up to the apartment. Tell us what you observed, what your senses told you.
Okay. First of all, it seemed like a normal apartment. When we got inside, he turned off burglar alarms. I asked him why. First, it was a foul odor, okay?
Tell us about that. What kind of an odor?
It was just like an odor. I didn't quite know what it was. You know, he told me a sewer pipe had broke and management would take care of it.
Now, you're fully clothed.
Yes.
Okay. And you're sitting on a couch.
Right.
And he talks to you about this posing, and you weren't sure you're going to do it.
Right.
How much had you been offered to do the posing?
$100.
Okay. And when he brings you the beer, he brings you rum and Coke?
Yeah, he brings that. Yeah, he brings the beer first, and then he brings the rum and Coke.
Okay, when you start talking about the fish in the fish tank, do you bring that up or does he?
He does.
And what do you do when he does that?
I turn to the right, like the fish tank is here. I'm turning all the way over here.
You turn to your right to look at it?
To look at the fish tank, right.
And when that happens, what happens to you?
All of a sudden, a handcuff and a knife is pulled on me.
Handcuff is placed on your body? Where?
On my left wrist.
And you see a knife?
Yeah, the knife, yeah.
Now, at that moment, what do you do?
First, I feel fear. Then I ask him what's going on. You know, this is not necessary, you know, to pull a knife on me at that
Are you
moment.
afraid?
Yes.
Do you have any reason to know why he did that?
None whatsoever.
Did you have any idea at that time it was going to happen?
No.
Did that room have a TV set in it?
Yes.
Was there anything going on the TV?
Yeah, the Exorcist movies was playing at that time.
There was an Exorcist movie on. You know which one of them?
The name I'm not sure. I think it's 3. I'm not sure which one.
So there was a movie. Did you know it to be part of television or a VCR?
VCR, normally that's not on regular television, so I thought it was VCR.
You knew there was a movie showing.
Right.
Did you see him put it on, or was it on?
No. When we first got into the apartment, he went through the back to the back bedroom. Maybe he put it on then. I'm not sure.
Okay. And then what happened? You're both sitting on the bed?
Yes.
Are you still in handcuffs?
Yes.
Is he holding the handcuff?
Right.
Do you still have the knife?
Right.
Is it pointed at your side, as you've told us before?
Right.
You trying to be cool?
Very much so.
You're not fighting with him?
No.
What's your intention? What are you planning on doing?
Getting away. I was contemplating on at a point jumping out the window. I was basically talking with this person, trying to let him know I was his friend.
As you were sitting there on the bed, when he had you by the handcuff and a knife at your side, at that time, which would have been maybe 7 o'clock?
Something like that.
What impression was made upon your mind by the conduct, action, manner, expression, and conversation that you observed of Mr. Dahmer?
His frame of mind is what you want to know, right? Okay, he acted, at times he would go through like different changes with me, you know.
Tell us about that.
1 minute he's like nice, then he was telling he didn't want people to leave him or abandon him, things of this nature, you know. Yeah.
Well, what did you think about him as a person? What impression was made on your mind of this fellow that you're dealing with here?
Yeah. That at times he wasn't himself, and then at times he was like a nice guy, you know. He would come and go different times, you know, throughout the whole time. Then he would like sit, being quiet at times, watching the movie, wanting me to watch the movie, you know, and just doing little chanting sounds, you know.
Did you observe him watching the movie and how he would react to the movie?
Right, he would like just start rocking back and forth when he, you know, certain parts of the movie or whatever.
You have to say, what did he say, Madam?
He was like chanting at certain times and rocking back and forth. Right.
Tell us about his chanting. What was that all about?
I'm not even sure, sir, but it was just like, I can't tell you the words. I couldn't understand what he was saying at that time.
Can you mimic him? How it sounded?
It was like a slow slur, like, some of that nature, some close like that, I'm not sure.
Did it keep on for a period of time?
Off and on throughout the ordeal.
And how about the movement back and forth? How was that being effectuated?
Just like back and forth, he would do it every now and then.
Just as you are rocking in your chair?
Like this.
And chanting?
And chanting.